Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a DFS strategy video for the 2026 Cognizant Classic. My name is Eric, and I'm here with SweetSpotDFS to go over all things SweetSpot. I'll be covering the golf course and tournament information, going over the past optimal and GPP winning lineups. I'll review the Genesis just to cover that, see how well the SweetSpot process did, and just kind of cover a little bit of that tournament. And then I'm going to get into the bucket system for the Cognizant Classic, as well as the Marquee Tee Times, which are all exclusive to SweetSpotDFS. So looking forward to this stream. I don't think it's going to be as long. I tend to say that all the time, and then they go long. I will be building lineups at the end of the stream, and I'm going to be building them with the optimizer that I'll show you right now. Also, you guys have already seen this before, but you can access this if you would like, or if you like lineups built, you do have to be a YouTube red tier member and above. Red tier only costs you $1.99 a month. If you want me to build lineups for you, that's what you're gonna have to be, as a red tier member and above. I do go live Wednesday nights for only YouTube members only. I said only twice, but yeah, YouTube members only. You have to be a white tier member for that. So just throwing that out there. If you want access to some of the things that I provide, it will be behind a paywall. Otherwise, if you guys can push this to 25 likes, I'll just give out 5 free memberships, honestly. And those go out randomly. I don't get to choose who gets them, but maybe you could get them. All you gotta do is hit that like button, and if we get up to 25 likes, I will give up, or I will give out those memberships. So do me a favor, go ahead and do that. Now, before I get into the stream, just a reminder, I do giveaways weekly and monthly. Next Tuesday, I will be doing a monthly giveaway for this month of February. If you want, it only takes one entry to win. Honestly, it only takes one. I've seen it multiple times. So I give out a membership to SweetSpotDFS.com for those winners. We are also 18 subscribers away from kind of hitting the subscriber goal that you see over there to the left. Once we hit the subscriber goal, I give out a free t-shirt to go along with a membership to SweetSpotDFS. And the t-shirts are like 30 bucks. So you kind of get a $50 value just by participating on the channel, by liking, by subscribing, by commenting. And that's how you get entries. Commenting. When this, currently this is a live stream. So I have people in the chat. If you are here during roll calls, which I try to do at every 1 hour mark, I'll just say, hey, who do you like this week? And then you give me the winner. Or I just say, type the number 1. If you participate in those, that helps the algorithm out. I'm going to reward you guys by giving you entries. Otherwise, what you can do is after this goes to replay, so it's live right now, once I hit end broadcast, YouTube then uploads it as a rewatchable video. Go there and comment down below. Now, there is something in the description of this video that'll show you how to get an additional entry into the giveaway. So if you go comment after this goes live, you get 1 entry. If you comment the magical words, you'll get 2 entries. So that is another way that you can get entries into these giveaways. And again, I'm doing a monthly giveaway next week. So it only takes 1. It only takes 1. So with that being said, let's actually run a giveaway. Actually, hold on. Before I get into the giveaway, one other reminder. I have a SweetSpotDFS.com giveaway. When this YouTube channel reaches 1,000 subscribers, I'm giving away $1,000 worth of giveaways. 2 of those are memberships to SweetSpotDFS. One is a lifetime and one is a yearly membership. The other 2 are $100 cash giveaways, because I know most of you guys like cash and some of you don't really care for the memberships. That's fine. The cash is there for you. I need 1,000 subscribers before I run this giveaway. And if you want an entry into it, you have to create an account at SweetSpotDFS.com. There is a link in the description. Go click it, go sign up, hit the little login button at the top right. All you have to provide me is a username and an email address. That's it. That's all you got to do. And then I will pull that distribution list once we reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel. And that is how I will get my entries for this giveaway. So it's pretty clear cut. I've explained it pretty well in detail. If you want access or if you want entries into these giveaways, you just have to participate with all things SweetSpot DFS. So with that being said, let's go ahead and, well, let me bring this down. Let's get into our weekly giveaway, not our monthly. I had to copy over the weekly. Now, last week, I did an impromptu stream on Monday. I did not have roll calls. I wasn't really planning on doing it Monday, but it was really the only time I had. And yeah, so the only entries we got were from those that commented in the YouTube comments after it went live. So after the video goes live and you can go down in the comment section, these are the people that participated. So I appreciate you all. We had Denny, Lombardi Lee, Nathan, Joanne, Corey Gamble, and John Bizzle. So appreciate you all for going to this video or going to the Genesis Invitational video afterwards and going in and commenting. Denny just slid it in like 2 minutes ago. I will give you credit for that. We'll see if we do that in the future, but you got credit for this week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and run the giveaway. It was Denny Berry. You lucky guy. Denny, congrats. Reach out to me however you would like this. If you want it sent to Google Pay, PayPal, Venmo, whatever, let me know. Otherwise, we can bank it for merchandise later. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and remove all of this. Like I said, I already saved it down here. So they're all right there. And I'll get prepared for our roll calls that I'll be doing again at the 1 hour mark. So at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. If I haven't done a roll call, you guys can remind me and say, hey, we need to do a roll call. I use the abbreviation of THC because that's the Honda Classic. I still call it the Honda Classic. Just prepping it for our roll calls later on. Okay. Now, a reminder, this is a live stream, so I'm going to participate with the chat. Skylar Bro comes in and just calls this the Joannes for the giveaways. Joanne didn't win, so that's not correct. But yes, Joanne has been very lucky. Dave Dean says, let's go. What's going on? Nice to see you. Bill Smart, how are you? AJ Love. Yes, a very weak field. Yeah, not a lot to talk about. Wanted to support, but busy tonight. Hey, appreciate you, Logan. Did you see that Byron called you G-Spot instead of SweetSpot when he was trying to promote your Sunday show? I had their stream or their video up, but I wasn't really paying attention to it completely. So I'll have to go back and double check it. So I will do that. All right. First order of business is going over the golf course and tournament information preview. So let's go ahead and get into it. You know, one thing I forgot to do is plug the website. If you want to follow along with me at all throughout this video, I have a cheat sheet that I have updated. I'll talk more about the updates a little bit later, but you can use this cheat sheet, or if you scroll down on this page and you go to this cheat sheet, that says the cheat sheet, click here and it'll bring up the Google Sheets that I will be operating off of. So you can go ahead and follow along with me this way, or if you have an account at SweetSpotDFS.com, we can go ahead and use the tools that I have there. I've got a bunch of tools, and I'm very proud of the website. So hopefully if you are a member, you are also proud of it too, and you get good use out of it. Okay. The other thing too, by the way, Fantasy Tools, Optimizer. If you scroll down, I think I need to zoom in one more time. Optimizer, once you click on this, it'll bring you to this page where a pop-up will happen, and you put your email address here. If you want the Optimizer, type your email in there, request now. This then gets sent to my email inbox, and I have to see it with my own two eyes before I can reply to it and give you the Optimizer. If you don't get it right away, I apologize. I do have a 9-to-5 job, and a lot of other times I might just be busy, but I will try to send it to you as quick as possible. Some people get it within minutes. Some people get it within hours. I will do my best because I'm trying to provide you guys a service. I want you to be happy and not be upset. So be patient with me whenever this comes to you, or whenever you request it, and I will get it to you as soon as possible. All right. Back to the tournament and course information. Now, I have a tool called Tournament Stats. You can come here, type in the tournament. I've already done that for us, and we can see a summary of data in the boxes to the top right. There is something a bit misleading here. Average winning score minus 10.69, and the average cut score is over par, 1.08. If we take a look at the last 2 years, 2025 and 2024, we've had the lowest scoring tournaments, or the lowest scoring years for this tournament. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they went to a full overseed, and not just an overseed on the greens or the fairways, but overseeded everywhere. Billy Horschel has mentioned this. A couple people on podcasts have already mentioned this. Yes, with the overseed, it has made it easier. Also, when there's no wind, which there wasn't last year, that also makes scoring conditions easier. I think there's supposed to be some forecasted wind Thursday, Friday that should keep scores a little bit lower, at least for Thursday, Friday, and it might keep that cut score relatively low. But you can also see the last 2 years that cut score has gotten really low. And I guess what I mean by keep the cut score low, I meant bring the cut score up, like higher. Closer to even, but I listen, I bet you anything it's going to be -1. They also, the other thing too is they have made hole number 10 a par 5. They did that a couple years ago, and that has just lowered scoring averages as well. So we'll get to that in the golf course portion here soon. But yeah, this is a summary of data. Now, we could just select 2025 and 2024, and now you can see what the average win score is, the average cut score. It is a 36-hole cut. It's a regular tour event. The other thing to mention with all of this, there are 123 golfers in the field. If you didn't already know this, PGA Tour has limited the field size to some of these tournaments to 120, whereas in previous years, you can see it's 144. So less golfers in the field with cuts still being top 65 in ties makes it easier for getting all 6 of our golfers through the cut. I'm not saying it's absolutely easier, but with the lower amount of golfers in the field, yeah, obviously it's a numbers game, right? It makes it easier for these guys to make the cut. So throwing that out there, information for you guys. We are at PGA National Golf Club, the Champions Course. And also strength of field. Look at this. It's all over the place, but if you were to go back, and this is kind of what a lot of people have been talking about online, like what happened to this tournament, what happened to the old Honda Classic. Look at the strength of field. We're in the 400s and nearly 500s from 2013 to 2016. And that still kind of hovers around 300 something from 2020 back to 2016. And then it just dives. Now, 3 years ago, or 2024, 394, that was the highest strength of field that we have seen in a long time. 322 last year, but 181 this year. And that's with all the withdraws. It could have been a little higher, but we saw Ben Griffin withdraw. We saw Jacob Bridgman last week's tournament withdraw. There have been a lot of withdrawals that has lowered the strength of field even more. I think when I first put it in here, it was at 210 or 209. Now we're down to 181. So I bring up all this information just so you guys know this is one of those things that I absolutely dislike when I watch other people's podcasts. Why are we talking about this? This is for data points to use for researching. And you can use all of these data points to research on SweetSpotDFS.com. So depending on whatever tool that you want to look at, I'm on my strokes gain stats tool. If we wanted to use tournament stats, like there is an actual filter over here called tournament stats, the little podium, and you can put in almost any of the information that I just showed you, like strength of field. I think I'm going to change this maybe later this week to strength of field SSDFS, and then this one will be just called strength of field OWGR. What it means between old and new is this was the old way to do strength of field. The new way is the lower numbers. Like if you go on OWGR right now, you won't ever see anything high like 800, 900 or anything like that. Whereas like in the olden times, or, you know, a few years ago, you would have seen like the PGA Championship at Kiowa Island had one of the highest strength of field ratings. It was like 894 or something like that. It was really high. Maybe it wasn't 894, but from my memory it was. You're gonna see that. And I guess I have 923 in here. I don't remember what tournament that was, but I like to see the bigger numbers. I like to see more of a disparity between low strength of field events and high strength of field events. Whereas like now it's more condensed. It's more, to me, it's a little bit more difficult to understand, you know, what is a high strength of field versus a low strength of field. Anyways, so you can use this. You can also use winning score. You know, if we think the winning score is going to be minus 20 to say minus 16 or 15, let's just put that. Let's do like a 5-point increment. We can do that. And all the stats over on the right here are all going to update. So you're going to see that for this tool, this is the summary of the golfers in the field this week, right up here. And then this table down here just shows all the results. And it will show you all of the tournaments where that score applies. So basically what you'll be able to do is, all right, which golfers, and really stroke gain total from top to bottom is what I would personally put in here, or I would sort by. I do have the date kind of pretty strict. So if you wanted to actually move this date over to say 2020, now we'll see more data, and some of these results will change a little bit, which that's probably what I want to do anyways, is just kind of see an overall aspect of how good some of these golfers are, especially someone like a Brooks Koepka, who, you know, hasn't been on the PGA Tour over the last 2 years and only has played, what was it, 2 events on the PGA Tour this year so far? Or was it just 1? I can't remember. 1 or 2. I would want to see more data to provide me a little bit. Actually, you guys can do whatever you want. Seeing more data will give you more of a zoomed out look at things. If we wanted to see what has happened more recently, we obviously move the slider up a little bit, wherever you find, whatever suits your need. Does not matter to me. I'm not here to tell you how you should be researching your data that much. I'll give you pointers here and there, but yeah, this is for you to use as data points. Now to go over some more data points, golf course stats. This is another tool that I have at SweetSpotDFS.com. Gives you a whole summary of what this golf course provides. So we can see yardage, 7125. I think it's actually just a little bit lower than 71. I'd have to double check my data, but I think it's at like 7090 or 7090 something. But that is a short-ish or a shorter golf course that the PGA Tour uses. Par 71, that needs to be updated. It's not a par 70. Byron pointed out when we were going over golf course stats that my hole number 10 was looking at a par 4. So I wonder if this is just looking at the lowest number. I'll have to double check on that. And my apologies for not having this fully updated. But it is a par 71, 7,100 yards basically on the button. As you can see, it is overseeded. So when this is checked with a Y versus a no or an N, you would want to look at the grass stats down here. Now, the grass stats that you have up here, that's your base layer. You do not have to confuse yourself. You do not have to concern yourself with the base layer whatsoever. Some people do. Some people enjoy bringing up like, oh, the base layer is Bermuda, so this is a Bermuda golf course. No. When there's an overseed, anytime a superintendent says that the golf course is overseeded, it means that the grass that's underneath the base layer, it is not in current optimal growing conditions. And when grass is not in an optimal growing condition, it's not thick, it's not luscious, it's brittle, it's thin, sometimes it turns brown. You've seen that at the American Express. You've seen that at some other tournaments, WM Phoenix Open. And we saw it last week a little bit at the Genesis Invitational. That brown grass is the dormant native grass, or the dormant base layer. So obviously we have Bermuda all the way through, but you're not going to get that anywhere other than the greens. And honestly, I have no idea if the greens are, from my research, TifEagle Bermuda is a bit more hardy in the wintertime, and it can actually grow with cold temperatures. I'm not 100% certain, but if the okay, I'll actually go back to what I just said. If the superintendent is telling us that it is TifEagle Bermuda greens, that must mean it's TifEagle Bermuda. So yeah, use your Bermuda stats for putting. If you actually just wanted to use it for average finishing position, I don't have an issue with that. Yes, I had mentioned earlier that Billy Horschel complained that, you know, the course is easier when it's overseeded. That must mean Bermuda doesn't really play a huge factor into it, but you guys can, you know, use your own judgment. Personally, for me, I will be using Bermuda stats. And if you were using the cheat sheet, like the old school cheat sheet, so I'll scroll down and click on this, you're going to find that Bermuda is in the grass stats over on the right side. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see this. So you will see, I just have Bermuda for the cheat sheet on Google Sheets. I don't have a second grass. I've never kept track of finishes on ryegrass because that is what the overseed will be. I've never kept track, so I don't have a second stat. But if you wanted to use ryegrass for your own, well, first of all, let's just throw this out there. I have ryegrass on the website. I just don't have it in the Google Sheets. So that same tool that we went and changed the winning score down here, I'm actually going to remove that. We can go into the grass stats right here, and you can pick whatever grass you want. So we can go ahead and put in overseeded. So we can look at every tournament that has, or every golf course that has an overseed. We don't want POA. That filter was in there apparently. Whoopsies. But we can look at every golf course that has overseed. Now that is a bit ambiguous because it could just be tee boxes that are overseeded. It doesn't just need to be greens. It could be any portion of the golf course that's overseeded. If you select a Y, it's going to show up all of those. Now, you can actually check out what the overseeded greens are by going in here and taking a look at that. So actually, I can take off overseed and put in overseed greens. And I guess we could go ahead and put in... this does not have the overseed I'm looking for. It should be TifEagle. I'll have to take a look at that. I don't know why that's not showing up. But we could just make it general and just put in Bermuda greens. And I guess we could put overseed. Overseed with Bermuda greens. And we're going to get this information. Again, we can clear out the date selections and we can see who our best golfers are. Again, strokes gained total, we can look at that. We can also look at strokes gained putting. You'll find probably these golfers are the best on these golf strains. And again, select the date. You know, maybe we don't go to the beginning of time, which for me is 2013. We can actually narrow this a little bit and get a little bit better. Like, look at Kita Nakajima. He goes, if I open this up completely, he has 1.73 strokes when it comes to putting. If I make this really narrow, oh, I suppose it stays the same. He must have a result early, like more recently. But either way, you can use this however you'd like. Does not matter to me. You go with your own gut feeling. I think a year's worth of data is probably the best, and that's kind of what I had in here before. So, you know, 2017, 2025, I think that's plenty good. You want to look at the best putting golfers in the last year on this type of grass? Here you go. Kita Nakajima, Garrick Higo, Nico Echeverria, Sam Ryder, Harry Higgs, and you can see the rest. Nikolai Højgaard, which I'm sure is going to be very popular. Personally, I like strokes gained total. This is very similar to average results. Good golfers get the ball in the hole in the least amount of times. It doesn't have to just be based off of putting. Like if you're around the green, you still have to understand how Bermuda works in order to get the ball closer. It all goes hand in hand. But yeah, strokes gained total, Alex Smalley, Danny Berger, Danny Walker, Luke Clanton, Shane Lowry, Ryan Gerard, Taylor Moore. I mean, there's a lot of very popular golfers here when I look at this list. So yeah, again, go to SweetSpotDFS.com. Go peruse around, see what stats fit for you, what works best for you, and then apply those to the filters. Again, every page, every tool I have will have this filter bar over on the left side. Just drill down on any of the icons and a filter panel will come out and you can put whatever filter you want in there. And that's what we'll be doing here a little bit later. But the reason to go over the tournament stats, the reason to go over the golf course stats is to provide you guys data points for researching. So hopefully that helps you out in picking a better player pool. We kind of went over a few golfers that are at the top of these stat categories. That should help you out just a little bit. Okay, that's all I have. I see there's a few more chats in here, so let me go ahead and address those. AJ, what's going on? I think I already said hi to you, but hello again. Dan, Swipe a YT, what's up, man? I missed qualifying for the Honda by 2 strokes back in my competitive days. That's awesome, dude. That'd have been cool to play. Do you remember who you qualified with? Any players that we would all know? Everyone check out the G Spot. I gotta go back and watch that. Can anyone give me the timestamp where I can find that? When it comes to Byron saying that, that'd be a huge help. I'd love to go back and watch that. AJ says, excited for this week, but I think everyone plays the chalk at the top and the 3 6K players. Oh, at the top plus 3 6K players. I think if you get the lower guys right, you're golden. I bet you're right. Dan used to work at PGA National. The championship course can be hard if the wind is blowing. All right, Dan. I think Dan is my first founding member on SweetSpotDFS.com. And he won $50,000 too. So that was sweet. It's within the last 15 minutes. Okay. You know what? I'm halfway through their podcast, so I haven't gotten to it yet. So I'll look forward to that. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and get into the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. So right away, we get to mention there's no Scotty Scheffler. So there's no Scotty Scheffler rules. We don't have to think about $14,000 golfers, anything like that. We are back to kind of being normal. Now, normal, I guess, is relative because if we go to the cheat, the cheat sheet on the website, our highest priced golfer is $9,900. Now, to talk about Byron and myself, we podcast every Sunday night. And throughout that podcast, we end up getting to a preview for the next week's tournament. And we were talking about the Cognizant Classic. I had said there's only going to be 2 10K golfers. I was right. I thought Shane Lowry would be one of them, and not Jacob Bridgman. Now, you don't see Jacob Bridgman on here. You don't see Ben Griffin on here because I'm not going to give you golfers that have already withdrawn from DraftKings. So they're gone. Those were the 2 10K golfers of the week. It was Ben Griffin and it was Jacob Bridgman, which probably would have been great choices to play. But if those are your only 10K golfers, like Scotty being $14,000 has completely disrupted the way that DraftKings does its salaries. And I think you can obviously tell DraftKings do their salaries based off of an algorithm, a formula. There's not enough good golfers in this field to have a 10K. Aren't we doing it relative to the field? Like, shouldn't we still have 4 10K golfers or whatever to make lineup building a little bit more challenging? Because this week is going to be ridiculous. I was kind of making a comment like, this is going to be like a captain mode showdown where everybody's going to have the same lineup and you're going to have multiple winners for the GPP. Now, that might not happen because there's still way more combinations that you can pair up. You know, a captain mode showdown only has like 20 players that you can actually really choose from. Here, you're going to have way more than 20. But they're basically all going to start about the same. It's really opening up duplicates, which, I mean, I heard Pat Mayo say this earlier. Who cares about duplicates? I don't care about duplicates at all. A win is a win. If I'm winning the top prize and I have to share it with someone, does not matter to me, because there's only so many more lineups you could have built that would have been better. And the chances of me having the lineup that I had that duped with somebody was probably really low anyways. So who cares? Who cares about dupes? I don't really care about dupes. But at the same time, I also want to win the most money possible. And I think building lineups this week is going to be so easy. So easy. And it's going to be really difficult to be different. So with that being said, if we go back to the tools that I cover with the pass optimal GPP winning lineups, when we are on historic salary builds, we can start out a couple different ways. One of the ways is just looking at the Cognizant Classic, which I've already typed in COG. So I just drill down on that. And now I get all of the Cognizant Classic winning lineup builds. Now there are 3 lineups that I keep track of: the GPP winning lineup, the optimal lineup, and the SweetSpot optimal. So all the different lineup builds that you have here, that is what it's from. And if you drill down on any of these lineups, you can see in this little box down here, this little table, you can see what lineups they are referring to. So we have SweetSpot optimal and the optimal. Just looking at the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 6. There's a little summary box here that shows you of all the lineups I've recorded, how many of them had a 10K golfer, how many had a 9K. It's kind of like a frequency number that you see down here, like the percentages. So out of all of them, 72% of those lineups had a 10K golfer. Well, guess what? We don't have a 10K golfer this week. And if I were to drill down into golfer 1 right here, I can just start it out with a 9K and that eliminates all the 10Ks. We can come down here and just see, of all the lineups that start with a 9K, how many of them like leave very little money on the table. You know, we have last year's GPP winner spending $49,700 of the salary, and it went 999,776. Then I have a few optimal lineups that leave like $3,000 on the table. I mean, this one leaves $2,300 on the table. This one leaves $4,300 on the table, and the other one down here leaves $3,400 on the table. That's too difficult. Like, that's going to be way too challenging to build a lineup. The more money you leave on the table, to be honest with you guys, the more lineups you can actually build. Believe it or not, the more money you leave on the table, the more lineups you can build, because the 6K range is large. It is much larger than the 9K range, much larger than the 8K range. And if you were opening up, if you were wanting to leave more money on the table, that just brings in that pool of 6K golfers, which just really exponentially makes many more lineup combinations possible. So I'm not trying to leave a lot of money on the table, but there is a way to build lineups. If you were to think of it this way, if I pull up my optimizer and we pretend Shane Lowry and Ryan Gerard are in the 10K range. They're obviously not, but we could pretend this is our 10K golfer. We could also then pretend that, you know, Keith Mitchell's our 9K golfer. He's actually a 9K golfer, but we can pretend like Ryan Gerard's 10,300. Mitchell is 9,300, and then go on from there. What's going to end up happening is we're going to leave $600 on the table, most likely. If we're trying to build a $50,000 lineup, and pretending that Ryan Gerard is $10,300 instead of $9,700, that's a $600 difference already. And who knows if we're going to spend the other salary, the other fake salary to get up to $50,000. But that is one way to think about building lineups. It's kind of just a replacement cost. You know, like if I were to go ahead and change Shane Lowry's salary to 10.9, and we change Ryan Gerard's to 10.3, and Rasmus Højgaard to 9,900 and Nikolai to 9,700. And then we go ahead and run the optimizer. it's probably going to be able to make a lineup that's a little bit easier to make. I mean, it actually just puts out 3 9Ks and 3 7Ks, and we leave $200 on the table. It's a pretty good looking lineup. We can run this a couple more times and just see if we get any 10K golfers. Actually, let me just force it to do a 10K golfer. Oh, because there are no 10K golfers, I didn't make this an ability for the optimizer to even select. Okay, now it should. There we go. So now if we think of Shane Lowry as 10,900, you see how this is 50,000? We're going to have to like conceptualize this in our brains. And maybe you don't want to, maybe you don't have to. That's fine. You really don't if you don't care to do this. I forgot how much is 99, 97, 95, 94. Okay. Okay. So now when you look at the salary that's from the lineup that I just built, pretending that Shane Lowry was 10,900, it's now 49,000. So it is very difficult to think about this sometimes, where it's like, well, Shane Lowry is one of the best golfers in the field. And normally DraftKings would have the best golfer in the field be like 10,700 or 10,500, something like that. And in all reality, that actually makes lineup building easier to think of it that way. But it's really challenging to see this number here, you know, $1,000 left on the table, because that means you can trade up with a lot of these golfers right here, especially a $6,200 Cam Davis. Like I personally wouldn't want to do that. So basically what I'm trying to do is give you guys a little bit of a different perspective on how to build lineups this week. You don't have to go this route. In fact, it would be very challenging to do this for everybody. Back in the day, I would do a price conversion whenever there was a 5K range. I almost feel obligated to create a price conversion for this week, just to make lineups a little bit easier to build. But at the same time, you know, we don't really have to. I've made some adjustments on the optimizer. I've made some adjustments when it comes to the projections. So it's a bit more forgiving this week. The maximums are actually higher than they typically are, and I'll explain more about that when we get to the bucket system. So lineup building should be easier, but I imagine the most common lineup builds is going to be a 999 777. And I mean, like I said, that was the GPP winning lineup last year. Now, if we want to like look at that lineup, we can go ahead and type in here Cognizant and this is another tool that I have, pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. We can go here, select the GPP winner, and then select the year that we're looking at. And you can see what the GPP winning lineup had. It actually left $500 on the table. That's not correct. Oh, was it 2024? Was I supposed to look at 2020? Yeah, 2024. My bad. Okay, here we go. So this one left $300 on the table, and it started with $9,600, $95, then to $9,000. Keith Mitchell, by the way. A 64th place finish in Mark Hubbard, and then you had EVR and Austin Eckroat. If I open this all the way up instead of just the GPP winner, and we look at the top salaries, oh my God, we had a lot. Rory McIlroy played in this tournament, 12,200. We actually had a really good field. Cam Young, Fitzpatrick, Henley, and Tom Kim when he was actually decent at golf. Wow. See, now when I look at an actual typical salary, I mean, geez, 5 golfers in the 10K range. Like I said, Scotty Scheffler screwed things up, and he rightfully should be 14,000. I wonder what DraftKings is doing. I'd love to understand what DraftKings is doing with their salaries, because this isn't the first time we've seen 2 10K golfers, and that's it. At the top of the salary leaderboard. Okay, well, That is unfortunate. It's such a weird week this week when it comes to building lineups. Here's what I will say. What we can do, let me double check. Can I go ahead and come in here? I don't think I can look at fields where there are like limited 10Ks or no 10K golfers. Almost every single week on DraftKings, there's at least one 10K golfer, if not two. This week we obviously have 0 because they withdrew. Gosh, the more I talk about, the saltier I get. But the fact that DraftKings just like, they can't put 4 10K golfers in every contest. Like every week, just have 4 10K golfers in there. 10K and above, that is. Here's the issue. This is what's going to end up being the issue. Kind of like what I think AJ mentioned this earlier on in the chat. Having that many, well, how many 9K golfers do we have? We have 8. 8 9K and your typical 10 8K. Now, 8 9K golfers, that's a bit more than we typically see. We usually see about 6 or 7. Sometimes 5. You know what? This is pretty darn close to just being a typical salary structure minus having 2 or 3 10K golfers. The issue that I was getting to is if you start with a $9,300 golfer and let's just say no to these guys up here, we start here, you can't really get too low when it comes to salaries. This is nice to see. 93.92, 88.81, 73.71. But it's going to be really hard to get down in the 6K range. And I mean, I think I heard Pat Mayo and Alex Blickel talking about this, that dropping into the 6K range might actually provide more variance, or not so much variance. What was it? Diversification. I think that's the term that we'd want to use. I don't think they use it, but we'll use it. Diversification when it comes to lineup building. That this could really set you differently. And when we get into the bucket system, we can actually take a look at the 6K golfers and just see how well they typically do. Actually, how about we do that right now? I'm not going to get into the full bucket system, but let's go ahead and just take a look at what 6K golfers do. So this is the bucket system. If you guys are unfamiliar with it, it's called the bucket system. And it just looks at different stat categories and puts golfers in buckets. And for salary is 6K. Almost every year we see a high 6K in the top 10, and almost every year we see a low 6K in the top 10. And almost every year, this is the optimal lineup, I believe. Yeah, optimal lineup stats. So if we take a look at the optimal lineup, let me keep that right here. And you look at this number here, it might be difficult on your end, but for this low 6K, or I mean, this is the high 6K, 87.5% of optimal lineups each year have had a high 6K golfer in it. 62.5% have had a low 6K golfer in it. So the fact of the matter is, we're going to see some 6K golfers in the field. And if you wanted to come down here and look at the results with lead and bucket stats, this is a pretty good tool to look at as well. We can go ahead and just look at 6K golfers. So 6,000 to 6,900, and then just see how many of them finish inside, say, the top 15. This is select on 2025, so I'm going to, deselect that. And actually, let's just go year by year. That's probably the smartest thing to do. There were 3 6K golfers, 67, 69, and 66 that finished top 15. That was in 2025. In 2024, you had 67, 63, 64. In 2023, a whole boatload of 6K golfers, 66, 69, 62, 69. Those were all of the 4 golfers in, well, I guess top 5 and better. Well, otherwise, we had 2 $6,600 golfers that were top 10 and better to include with that. 2022, 64, 68, 67, 66, 69. 2021, a plethora of them there as well. And they range from 60, like high 6Ks down to low 6Ks. Why I mention this is because if you were to take a look, and this is what you can do, again, using the Pass Optimal and GPP winners, you don't even have to select the GPP Optimal or the SweetSpot Optimal. You could just go year by year and take a look at the finishing positions and just look at the salaries. Let's see, can I finishing place 1 to 91, just do 1 to 10? Will that change here? Oh, beautiful. I love when the tool works the way I want it to. So I'm just looking at top 10s right now, and we can sort by salary top to bottom, and you can kind of get a feel for what every year looks like for how many golfers represent the 10Ks, the 9Ks, the 8Ks, the 7Ks, and the 6Ks. Like in 2024, oh my God, we have a 5K range. That's disgusting. That's why we had so many guys in the 10K range. Oh, I hate that. I would have done a conversion and we would have seen more 6s. Some of these guys would have been closer to 10Ks. I have no idea off the top of my head. But either way, we can go again, take a look at top 10s. This was just 10 golfers on the button. And you can see we only had the one guy, Max McGreevy, $6,700, but we had a bunch of low 7Ks. Not anybody in the 9K, 10, 3/8, you know, and basically all that this is going to provide each and every one of you is just more comfort in grabbing some of these guys lower. And I kind of just mentioned all of this because you're probably going to want to play a 6K golfer still. So how do you do it? How do you make these lineups without a 10K golfer to anchor them? I have to leave a lot of money on the table because it does not look like you're like just take a look at this. Every single year, 10, then it drops to 3 8Ks. It looks like we can, you know, make some high 7Ks work out in our favor as well. It's 2025. I don't care about 2024. That was just a weird year. This one goes from a 10 to a 9 to an 8, and that's it. Those are the only 3 golfers that were 8K and above inside that top 10. 2022, 10. Okay, we have a few more 9s. We have 3 9s, but only 1 8. Bunch of 7s and a bunch of 6s. 2021, we have an 11. Then it drops down to, well, 9,800 is almost a 10K. Then an 8K. So only 3 golfers 8K and above yet again. Then it drops down into your 7s and your 6s. Like, lineup building this week is going to be so challenging. It's going to be extremely challenging. 2020, actually, that's where all your favorites played pretty decently. 11-6, 10-3, 9-3, 8-9. Like, there's a lot of 8K and above and very few 7s and 6s. And same thing kind of applies in 2019. So when this event used to actually be kind of one of the gems of the PGA Tour, that with all the best golfers that we had, that's when they actually showed up. And now we just have what? We have a glorified Puerto Rico Open, essentially. I think that's basically what we get this week. Yeah. Okay. So what to do with that information? I mean, honestly, we probably have to leave a lot of money on the table, and we're going to have to manipulate our optimizers to just deal with that, because I think I just automatically here. Let's go through this again. I just want to look at how many 7K golfers we see, because 7K is really the glue range that can glue a 6K to, you know, a bunch of 8s or 9s. So in 2025, we had a good representation of 7Ks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, 4 is good. 2024, that was the 5K, whatever. 2023, we only had 2. That's difficult. Okay, so why it's difficult is without a 10K range, we're gonna have to leave money on the table. And I get it. We don't have to get all 6 of our golfers to be inside the top 10 in order to take it down at GPP this week, because I bet you a lot of lineups are just going to be awful. Seriously, I bet you a lot of lineups this week are going to be awful. You probably have a better chance to win a GPP this week than any other time building lineups, because no one's going to get it right unless you get a little different. 2022, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7Ks. That's pretty good. 2021, 1, 2, 3, 7Ks. In 2020, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7Ks. That's good. So, and that's actually, you know what I could have done? I could have just counted the numbers right here. Suppose that's just looking at the optimals and stuff like that. Never mind. Just kidding. Is that because I don't have, oh, I don't have DK points. Okay. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7Ks in 2019. 2018 had 3. Okay. What if you're going through this, what you'd want to see is you want to see at least 3 7Ks to go with at least 3 higher priced golfers. If you weren't seeing that as we were going through, you're going to have to leave. I think we want to leave money on the table. And a big reason behind that, some of you might be like, well, we don't absolutely have to do that, but there are not that many golfers from 8K and up compared to the rest of the field. What I say, we had 8 9K golfers and we have 10. So we have 18 golfers 8K and above. Now the average salary range is 8,300. The average salary for DraftKings lineups is 8,333. So yeah, you could grab 3 of the guys up here and still have a pretty decent leftover when it comes to how much salary you have left. But what we just saw as we went through that, you didn't see a lot of 9K golfers inside the top 10. You didn't see a lot of 8K golfers inside the top 10. And many of you guys might just be thinking, well, it's not a salary that finishes inside the top 10. You're correct. It's not a salary that finishes inside top 10. It is a golfer. Now, a golfer is assigned a salary based off of their fit, their value, I should say, or the likelihood of success at this golf course. Let's put it that way. The salaries are very similar to odds, and golfers get better odds the more likely they're going to finish well at a golf course. So if we are seeing that the odds and the salaries are not showing up at the top of the leaderboard, that means this is kind of a free-for-all type of event. And I am anticipating that we're not going to see that many golfers 8K and above inside the top 10. Well, you would need to see like 5 or 6 8K golfers and above inside the top 10 in order to feel really comfortable about rostering like a lineup of 4 or 5 8s and 9s. But if you actually, just to do this a different way, if you did want to start with an 8K golfer and say you wanted to pepper the 8K range, as Chad Eckert used to say, if we scroll down, you can see there's 1,106 total lineups that I have recorded. We can see how many of those 1,100 lineups start with an 8K golfer. 27. 27 lineups do. Now, the other thing we can also do from here is, I don't want to see a lot of money left on the table. I want to see like a reasonable amount of money on the table. So I can go into this little filter over here on the left, put in 49.4 as my lowest amount of salary used. And now we go from 1,100 lineups down to 3 lineups. Just think of that. That's going to be really difficult to build lineups that way. The one lineup, the most recent lineup that we could look at is the GPP winner for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So let's just go ahead and do that. We'll go in here and look at the Arnold Palmer Invitational and go to the GPP winning lineup for 2025. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why am I missing a golf? That must be because I forgot to tally someone as a GPP winner. How about optimal? That has 6. But the SweetSpot optimal only has 5 as well. Okay, so it's got to be the same golfer, and for whatever reason, I don't have it marked. Strange. Very strange. Looks like it's at least a $7,200 golfer. Hold on. We can do this. We can figure it out. That GPP winner used up all the salary. Okay, that's good to know. So if we go to the GPP winner, use up all the salary means we're missing a $9,900 golfer. Or no, sorry, not 99, $8,900 golfer. So if I unselect that, oh, we still have a filter on here, guys. I missed that. What was it in? Finishing place. There it is. Oh, I probably didn't forget anything. Okay, cool. GPP winner. Yeah, he finished 19th and it was $8,900 like I said. So that lineup would have went 89, 88, 84, 82, 81, 76. 89, 88, 84, 82, 81, 8. Oh my God. 2025 Arnold Palmer Invitational. 4 golfers finished inside the top 10. One was 19th place. Was that the most we've ever seen there? We can also look anytime you want. You can look at the bucket system to find out these numbers. So I will put in the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And that will change all the data that's on this page. I'm going to scroll down. I don't really care to show this. It's okay. We can look at the 6Ks there. I want to come down to here, and this is going to give me my totals. So when it comes to the 8K range, if I come down to the salaries, for the Arnold Palmer, that actually tracks. Look at this. This is one of those things to look at when it comes to how to compare this week's 8K range to like that one time where there were 5 8K golfers in a GPP winning lineup. That one time. It was only once. And that was in 2025. So there's, again, 4 golfers that finished inside the top 10. I looked at the total amount of golfers, 11, 11, 10, 10. Okay, going back to the top 10 counts, there's 4. Top 5 counts, was there 4 also? Just 3. Yeah, okay. So the reason that I came down here to look at this, I wanted to see on average of all the years, how, like 8K golfers at Arnold Palmer, that tends to be a sweet spot. It appears for top 10. So we have to remember that for next year. If I come up here and we take a look, come on, at the Cognizant, and we scroll all the way back down to look at the AKs. Over the last 2 years, we've seen 3 golfers inside the top 10 for AKs. So that's wonderful. But prior to that, not at all. Like, it's bad. 1s and 2s. Top 5 count? Yeah, 1s and 2s yet again. How about top 20 counts? Top 20 counts would be good to look at. Yeah, even top 20s aren't that great. We get a couple 5s, 1, 4, but most of them are 3s and 2s and 1s. So the AK range isn't a very great salary range this week. And the only reason to bring all of that up is because if you just automatically assume that if you put 3, 4, or 5 AK golfers in your lineup this week, that you're going to have the opportunity to win a GPP, that's probably not correct. So I did say the one time, I guess there was 2 times there was 5 AK golfers, and the other one was Memorial at in 2022. So yeah, lineup building is going to be very challenging this week. You're going to either have to pretend that some of these salaries are different, or you're just going to have to leave a lot of money off the table. And I'm not a huge fan of leaving money off the table unless we can pretend that some of these golfers are different price tags. Like if we can pretend Shane Lowry and Ryan Gerard are in the 10K range and Rasmus Højgaard's like 9,900, Nikolai's 9,700, Keith Mitchell's 94 or whatever. That's all that I need to do in order to make these lineups work. But yeah, maybe I just leave $1,000 on the table. Maybe that's what we do when we build lineups. Leave $1,000 on the table. Yeah, it's very interesting, very challenging this week when it comes to lineup building. Very, very challenging. So that is all. That's going to wrap up the Pass Optimal and GPP winning lineups right in time to do a roll call. So for everybody that's in chat, if you are building a lineup, how many 8K golfers are you going to start your lineup with? Give me a number. How many 8K golfers are you going to start your lineup with? I'll type it in chat. And let me look at the chat. Let's see. AJ goes, I think last year I remember some top chalk guys missing the cut. I also heard that this is where chalk goes to die. Like chalk does really bad here. I love Lipsky this week for his price. Sounds good. We can get there when we build lineups. I got 2 high 6K range golfers in my lineup because I think that is a way to get different, and I really like the top loaded upper 9s. Oh, okay. I think we fade the top, and that would make you way different. I think most people will cram 3 top guys in their lineups because it's easy to do, but if the top fails, your lineups will skyrocket. Yeah, that's true. And those top guys are just going to be naturally high owned because like nobody likes to leave money on the table. Nobody. And I honestly, I'm a big advocate for not leaving money on the table, but this, when DraftKings does stupid stuff like this, it makes lineup building so much more challenging because you have to leave money on the table. You're going to have to get creative. Again, I will admit this. I do not like leaving money on the table. You know what? This reminds me. Let me go back. I want to pull in the Corrales, Puerto Rico, because nobody gets these right either. Even when there's a 10K range, nobody gets these tournaments right. Yeah, we could do ISCO. And is it just those 3? Corrales, Puerto Rico. We can go ahead and put in. Oh my God, does it start with an M? Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach. What other ones can we do? I think we just keep it to those 4. I might keep it to those 4. What is our most common lineup build? 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Of course. 24% of your lineups. Bunch of 10Ks in there as well. Oh, a ton of 10Ks. Okay, that's not really the right way to look at this. How about we just look at I bet you if we start with at least a 9. Oh yeah, none of them start with an 8K golfer. Just a 9. Oh, you know what? I have a filter on here that I forgot about. Right here. Okay. This is easier. What is the most money a GPP winning lineup has left on the table? $500. $500. That's it. But I bet you our optimal lineups 10,000, 9,400. This is the Corrales Punta Cana. I remember 2024 Corrales Punta Cana. Nobody had that. You were never going to build that lineup. If I go there, Corrales Punta Cana. 2024 optimal. Yeah. Oh, it had a 5K range in there. How disgusting. I hate 5K ranges. They had 2 10K golfers, Nikolai Højgaard and Alex. I swear to God, this is exactly the type of, like, this is going to be the type of leaderboard that you will see, or what will happen to some of these top price golfers. You had Højgaard and Noren, which were like the cream of the crop. Billy Horschel ends up winning that event. And then basically everybody below can't even finish inside the top 20 except for Davis Thompson at a flat 8K price tag. This is what you're going to see. This is what, like, you just need to beat a lineup like this. Sure, maybe one of these guys, AK and above, wins the event, but everybody else is just going to be awful. Now, it's not a true one-to-one because this 8 and 9K range doesn't quite match the 8 and 9K range that we see here, but it's pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. Max McGreevy, 8,200. That would never happen in any event. Smalley at 83 seems like a freaking steal, by the way. And Koepka at 9,000. The only way he's 9,000 is because, you know, he was in Live for forever. Mitchell's is where he should be with Price, and I bet you the Højgaard twins are also supposed to be right there as well. But yeah, that is, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at right here, right? Davis Thompson, 8,000. Was he up here? I forgot. Did I miss him? Where's Davis Thompson this week? Right here, 8,600. This is a Corrales Punta Cana. That is what I am looking at right now. This type of. And that, I bet you those are the results that you're going to see. Now, leaving $9,400 on the table is insane. Insane. But what can we actually do? This is the beautiful thing about SweetSpotDFS.com, by the way, especially this tool right here, which is the Pass Optimal GPP winning lineups. We can start selecting some of these golfers and build a lineup that will update the salary and the points right here. So the GPP winning lineup used 49.6 and it scored 597. So with the salaries, what I want to do is go 9,700. And by holding the left control, actually any control button on your keyboard, but if I hold the left control and left click, I can select multiple golfers. So let's do 97 into 87 into 8,000 into Ben Griffin 7,600, Penrith 7,500, Chan Kim 7,300. Oh boy, I'm leaving 1,200 on the table. I want to not leave that, but that's probably the best that I can do. I guess I can go from Mark Hubbard to Doug Gim, and so I have 97.95. That scores 600.5 points. So that's 2 9Ks and 1 8K, and then 3 7s. But that's like having to be absolutely perfect. Okay, so that's 49.6, and then we can make an adjustment and go down to Sam Stevens, who just scored 4 less points. So that's 596. What did the GPP winning lineup score? 597. So one of those lineups actually did beat the GPP. That last one I just did not. So the 2 9s, like 97, 96. So maybe this is a week we start with the Højgaard twins, Rasmus and Nikolai, or maybe you go Shane with Ryan Gerard. I really like Smalley. I'm going to build a lot of Smalley lineups. I really couldn't care less about this group of golfers, 93 to 87. Like that's going to be my lowest owned golfers, I think, at the top. Anyways. Let me go ahead and enter those roll calls. So AJ says 2. John says 2. Logan says 2. Lombardi goes 1. Okay. That's all we have. Sounds good. AJ goes, the lineups I've built so far are 3 9Ks, 2 7Ks, and 1 6. I'm going to have to change them. You do you, man. I'm just providing some insight here. Playing 3 lineups, 2 DK and 1 FanDuel, and I'm leaving an average of 200. Wow, okay. Usually leave 300 on the table. I think I'm going to leave up to 2,500 on the table. When I watch my NASCAR guy, he says, leave money on the table, and the more you leave, the more different you will be. Yeah, but that's not really how it works with golf. What do you have, like 30 drivers in NASCAR where we have 120 golfers? The combinations and probabilities, they're so massive. The more money you leave on the table and the more wrong you're going to be. Just throwing that out there. The more Money you leave on the table, the more wrong you're going to be. But this week, we're probably going to have to, and you're just going to have to accept you're probably going to guess wrong. Okay. So, with that being said, let's do a quick review of the Genesis Invitational. I did not do so hot at the Genesis. Jacob Bridgman won the event. I'm going to do this. Let's go. It's 160. And I'm going to change it. To this. Okay. I'm just going to start out with the summary. This is the bucket system. This is what I base all successes on when it comes to how well did the sweet spot process do. And for the Genesis Invitational, we had 3 buckets that did not perform well. Or at least the projections did not perform well. So let's start at the top. Last year's 6s, I was thinking somewhere between 0 to 2, we're going to finish inside the top 10. We actually had 5 finish inside the top 10. 4 were in the optimal lineup, but I did build a lineup with 2 golfers in it for the sweet spot optimal, so we'll see if that takes down the GPP. For the course history 3 golfers, I was thinking it was going to be somewhere between 1 to 4 that were going to finish inside the top 10. Instead, 0 finished inside the top 10 and 0 were in the optimal lineup. So that was a big fail. And then the only other bucket to fail were the course history 6s, where I thought somewhere between 0 to 2 would finish inside the top 10, and we ended up having 3 that did, and 3 of them were also in the optimal lineup. But the rest of the buckets were successful. 36 total buckets, 3 failed. That means 33 were correct. Do your math. I think that's a 92% success rate. So I am pretty happy with that. But it all comes down to, did the sweet spot optimal beat the GPP? Just to put this out there, the optimal scored 707 points. It used up $45,800 of the salary, so you had to leave $4,200 on the table. Bridgman at 68, McIlroy at 11.3, Kitayama at 73, Scott at 79, Potgieter at 6, and Ryan Fox at 65. So that is 110, 2 7s, and 3 6s. Very difficult to build that lineup, but that was the perfect lineup. Your GPP winning lineup scored 669.5 points, and it used $49,600 of the salary, $6,800 Bridgman, 11.3 Rory, 79 Scott, 6,000 Potgieter, 10.3 Fleetwood. So think about that. 11.3 McIlroy to 10.3 Fleetwood. And then the other one we have here is a $7,300 Pearson Cootie. So this golfer had 2 6Ks. Potgieter was the linchpin. $6,000. That's the stone minimum, the very lowest price that was on the slate. And that allowed him to be able to put 11.3 Rory with 10.3 Fleetwood, going into Scott, Kitayama, Bridgman, and Pearson Cootie, which what a lineup, right? That was a really good lineup. Following the sweet spot rules, we had Bridgman at 68, McIlroy at 11.3, Kitayama at 73, Scott at 79, Knapp at 86, and then Harris English down here in 22nd place. He was at 7,900. That lineup used up $49,800 of the salary, and it scored 667.5 points. That is 2 points behind the GPP winning lineup. So last week, the sweet spot process failed because it did not build a lineup. You could not create a lineup that would have been better than the GPP winning lineup. And that's how I base all the success for every single week. Now, that doesn't happen very often, but I let you guys know when it does. I don't know, the only way that I think this turns out differently is if Scotty places a little bit better than 12th. And in fact, if he was inside the top 3, I bet you the lineup builds would have been a little bit different. I really don't think I made a mistake. You know, like every once in a while, if we have a Scotty, we have to create the Scotty rule. You know, if there's Scotty Scheffler in the contest, we got to create a rule that fluctuates the projections. But like when I'm only projecting 0 to 2 golfers who did not play from the year before to finish inside the top 10, and 5 end up finishing inside the top 10, that's just that's going to happen sometimes. And that just is not going to allow us to be successful with the sweet spot process. And then likewise, when I have 1 to 4 course history 3 golfers, and only 1 shows up inside the top 10, that's, or not even inside the top 10, 1 is in the sweet spot optimal, that's just no good. I'm actually curious. I want to see who were our golfers in that course history 3 bucket. Yeah, Harris English was our guy. He didn't score the most points. Alex Noren scored the most points with 90, but I don't know why he wasn't. I mean, he must have just been in other buckets that the optimizer did not want to select. That's most likely it. And I mean, he scored 9.5 points more than English, so yeah, that's most likely it. He just was in the wrong buckets. We could have selected him if we allowed more last year's 6s, but I only had 0 to 2. 21 golfers in that bucket. You know what? You know what? I think I may have discovered something here. This bucket is suffering because I have... No, I suppose not. Never mind. I was going to say, I typically have... Let me just double check, actually. What are we looking at? Okay, we're not doing average per year, but we are doing success rate. Okay. So the Genesis last year's 6s. I went to the bucket system and we take a look at the Genesis. And I scroll down here and look at last year's 6s. Here are last year's 6s. We had 2 and then 1. And then what were our average counts? 24 last year and 11 the year before. And then it goes into 56 and up. So here's the thing. 11 in 2024 and 1 finished inside the top 10. That's nearly a 10% success rate. 2 out of 24 or 1 out of 12, that is an 8% success rate. When I go to the Genesis, this is showing a 5.25% success rate. So on average, that's 9%. What happens if I move this up to 9%? I'm getting closer. This would have been a 0 to 3 projection. And there was 100% frequency in that. Yeah, it would have been close. And actually, you know what? Yeah, 0 to 3 would have been the most. I don't think I would have. I'm very accepting of that. If this was a 9% success rate instead of a 5.25, because this number goes into the projections, I'm actually okay with that. And that reminds me, all the other events that are now signature events, I'm going to have to reduce the amount of years that the bucket system looks at those buckets, because it just changes things completely. Like that, the numbers I just showed you were completely different than any of the other years that I've looked at before. And that would have changed that to a projection of 3. And I've already updated the optimizer. I should actually keep an optimizer from last week and try to build a lineup where I have the projections of last year's 6s up to a 3. That means I grabbed one more golfer, and I bet you then the sweet spot the optimizer, the optimal lineup, that would have found a lineup better than the GPP. Okay, hey man, these are great. I enjoy, this is kind of like, if I'm being honest, this is probably selfish on my end, but it's like an exploration that I haven't yet been able to do. And here I am doing it on stream in front of all of you guys, because I really just want to uncover why did the bucket system not succeed last week. And it has a lot to do with the fact that the numbers are different, like drastically different. Again, going back to the bucket system, this is the Genesis Invitational. If I just let go and we look at total counts, last year's sixes, this bucket right here, it goes 24 golfers in that bucket last year, 11 the year before, and then it's 56, 41, 37, 38, 53, 53, 49, 55, 54, 54. Completely doubles, if not triples, those numbers. So those are things that I need to be more aware of, that I just never really thought to look into, if I'm being honest with you. This is the first time discovering this. So AJ, I'm looking at you. You need to remind me of these things. You don't, but you tend to. So, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay. The other thing to talk about with that review is just to go over the Marquee Tee Times, just to show you how that looked. I mean, I don't really have to show you the Marquee Tee Times because the SweetSpot process just did not perform as well as it should have. But let's see what the numbers are. I say this every single week, and I'm going to say it this week for all of you guys. We want to find 2 to 4 golfers from the Marquee Tee Times, and we do not want them paired up together. We do not want them paired up together. Right away, we see Rory and Tommy paired up together. They were in the GPP winning lineup together, but only Rory was in the optimal lineup. So that's a big deal, because I'm hunting the optimal. I am targeting the optimal. But you had 2 GPPs, 1 SweetSpot optimal when it comes to the bucket system, but there are going to be 2 golfers in the website. This is what considers the SweetSpot optimal. The SweetSpot optimal is just the best lineup that uses $49,600 of the salary and above. Just throwing that out there. So there's that. The next lineups did not, or the next grouping did not show up in the optimal, the GPP, or the SweetSpot. Neither did group 3. Neither did group 4. Group 5 was close. Cam Young finished 7th, by the way. I actually forgot he did. Harris English, $7,900. He was in the SweetSpot optimal, the bucket system version. Cantlay. Nope, never mind. I don't even know why I said Cantlay. These other 2 groups did not. And then you had Jacob Bridgman. Bridgman was a Marquee Tee Time guy. Holy crap. Oh my God, dude. I didn't know that. He should have been like in a ton of lineups just for the fact that the optimizer is always selecting 2 to 4 of these guys. And Bridgman would have been an easy one to pick. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of Bridgman. The lineups that I did were pretty good, and I almost made my money back just because of those lineups. But he's in the optimal. Rory's in the optimal. That means 2 were in the optimal. The Bridgman was in the SweetSpot optimal. Harris English was in the SweetSpot optimal, and Rory was in the SweetSpot optimal. That's 3. Obviously, the SweetSpot optimal following the buckets. That was a lineup that scored 2 less points than the GPP. So instead of winning 30,000, you only win 10,000 or whatever the second place prize is. So it was close. It was really close. Really close. Okay, cool. That is your review of the Genesis. Let's get into the bucket system or the Cognizant. Actually, let me see. Yep. No new chats. So let's go ahead and go into the bucket system. All right. You can follow along with me one of 2 ways. One of the ways is through SweetSpotDFS.com, the website, SweetSpotDFS.com. This is under the bucket system. I will be kind of going back and forth from this page or this tool, as well as the old cheat sheet. Now, if you want to access the old cheat sheet, all you got to do is go to the website, go under Fantasy Tools, find the cheat sheet, and then scroll down on the page until you see this cheat sheet. Click here. This opens up the Google Sheet, and then there is a bucket system that you can go to. It's one of the tabs down at the bottom left. You can look at the bucket system, and I have projections here. It could be this week, it could be next week, it definitely will be before the Masters. I will have projections on the website. There will be a button that says historical or this week up here somewhere, and we will be able to look at what is this week versus what is historical. So throwing that out there for you guys. We will have an updated bucket system that will have projections here. But on the website for this bucket system, you can look at this many different ways. I do have a little hamburger icon right here that has all these different filters that we can look at. If we just want to look at each stat category one by one, we certainly can do that, or you could do that at home. So when it comes to last year ones, last year twos, last year threes, fours, fives, and sixes, you can see the range that's next to it. What does a last year one mean? Well, 1 to 20. I imagine you guys can figure out what that means. That's somewhere between first and 20th place. Any golfer that was in that finishing range last year would be in this bucket this year. So I don't have totals, but if you were to go to the cheat sheet and take a look, I'm going to go to my sheet, by the way. I'll go here, and I'm going to go ahead and put a filter on this and take some of these things out. Okay. So if we're looking at last year, and I mean, you could do this too. You can filter out by whatever you want on the cheat sheet, the Google Sheet cheat sheet. You can certainly do that. And we can look basically at the same numbers. Although it's not showing me the same numbers. Oh, you know what? I'm sure someone in the chat was like, you're looking at the wrong one. It would be helpful if we put the Cognizant up here and not the Genesis Invitational. There we go. I was like, the numbers aren't the same. Now the numbers are the same. Look at this. 0 to 3, 0 to 3, 0 to 2, 0 to 2, 0, 5, 1, 8. These are golfers who finished last year, and I have bucket totals here. So I'm actually going to zoom in real close so you guys can see it a little bit better on your end. We can see the bucket totals right here, and then we can see the average bucket totals for each of these buckets. Remember, if I go back to the tournament stats and we look at the Cognizant, you remember the average amount of golfers in the field was 144. Now we have 123. Well, that's going to reduce the numbers of each of these buckets. Because now we're only looking at 123 golfers versus 144. So we have 5 fewer last year ones than we typically do. 1 fewer last year 2, 1 fewer, or 1 more, I should say, last year 3, 5 fewer last year 4s. Don't really have to worry about that bucket anyways. Pretty spot on with the other 2 buckets. So really the bucket that hurts the most are these last year ones. We only got 11. And I think that has a lot to do with the other golfers that we would normally see in this bucket have played well enough that they get to go to the next signature event. And there is some kind of weirdness that comes with if you do play badly at one of the events in between, you might lose your ranking to go into next week's event, which is the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which is a signature event. So why even risk it? You get a guaranteed paycheck, basically. Not, well, there's a cut there. So you still have to make the cut, but you make the cut, you get a lot of money. So that's probably why we have less. The success rate for this bucket isn't even that high. 9.5% is not good at all. This success rate is looking at all golfers from that bucket to ever exist and basically just looking at how many of them finished inside the top 10. 9.5%. We normally see 23 or 24% for this bucket. So there aren't a lot of repeat success stories that come to this event, but that's not to say don't play any of them. That's why the projections are here. 0 to 2 is a projection for that bucket. And that's exactly how you would read this. just for all the projections right here. Which is kind of crazy because now it's like one of the best buckets are one of the best buckets to choose golfers from is this last year's 6 bucket, but it's also a volume driven bucket. 51 golfers in that bucket. And we can actually go here. This is actually a better way to kind of look at this, in my opinion. So if I come down here in last year ones, remember we put that filter at the top. Now we're only looking at last year. We can look at the totals throughout each of the years, and then we can look at the corresponding top 10, top 20, made cuts, missed cuts, that kind of stuff. So top 10 counts, you know, despite this not being a high success rate for a bucket, only 1 year did we not have a last year one finish inside the top 10. Seems crazy for this kind of 83.33% frequency. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense. One, two, let's see. Let me do the hard math here. It's probably right. I'm just in my head thinking that it's not right. So we have one, we actually would count 2013. Oh, no. We'd only count 2014. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 10 divided by 12 is 83%. So yes. I'm doubting a computer doing math. Okay. So, but that's a good way to look at this. Only 2 years did it not show at least one golfer from this bucket inside the top 10. And again, if we deselect this, we can see that, oh my God, there was 24 golfers in 2020. That's just going to hurt the number. And then only one finish inside the top 10. Wow. 2020. Let's look at that. Let's actually dive into that in 2020. So I'm going to select the year 2020. I'm going to remove this finishing position, remove this. We can actually select the bucket we want to look at. So last year one. These are all the golfers that finished, that were in that last year one bucket. I'm going to go salary top to bottom and just see what happened. Koepka missed the cut. This is the 2020 Honda Classic, by the way. Koepka missed the cut. Fowler missed the cut. Horschel was 42nd. We had a 42nd, 17th, 17th, 27th, 17th, 11th. That would have been close to have another golfer there. It actually goes from 11, 10, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. I mean, it kind of just drops fast, right? Goes 7s into the 6s. Wow. That's insane. And you can see what their finishes were from the year before. Keith Mitchell was in that bucket. He won. He missed the cut. Joe Highsmith will probably miss the cut, right? Holly was 12th. Oh, yeah. I hate how Power BI does its sorting. Because it's like 1 and then 1, 2. This is probably a... Oh, this is probably a text field. That's why. Whatever. Koepka and Fowler had finished second that year, so they lost to Keith Mitchell. Then you had 2 guys that were 4th place. Vijay Singh was 6th place. That's crazy. Oh, that's right. It was like the old guy that came out of nowhere to play really well. So a lot of old dudes. Okay. All right. I just wanted to see why this year didn't produce a lot of top 10s, and it's quite evident the golfers sucked. Like, some of these names just aren't good golfers. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, that is why. They just sucked. So, let's take a look at golfers in that bucket this year. So last year ones. This is the cheat sheet. You guys can actually follow along. This is free. You just go to the website, go under cheat sheet, find the cheat sheet, click here, go into that Google sheet. And we can see, I mean, it's kind of a little of the same. Here's the thing. I go back here and I scroll down here. And again, we're only looking at last year ones. Top 10 counts. We rarely see more than 2. Like we do see 3 a couple times, or I should say 3 times. 2020. Okay, so hold on. 2023 and 2021. 10 and 15. Ooh, those are actually low numbers. Okay, let's look at 2023. Who are the golfers in there? 2023, last year ones. Who were my guys? I'm going to go salary top to bottom. You had Shane Lowry, 10-4. Chris Kirk, who won the event at 9,900. Porsche, well, Sepp Straka at 85. And he had won the year before. Lowry finished 2nd the year before. Chris Kirk finished 7th the year before. Wow, those are actually really good finishes. So what do? We compare that to this year. And here were their finishes last year, right here. These were their finishes last year. So Highsmith, we can basically say is not going to make the cut. Bryce Garnett, Andrew Putnam's in that. Okay, so here's what I'll say. If you want to build a lineup with three of these golfers, which I can easily do with Shane Lowry, Alex Smalley, and Andrew Putnam. Those are some of my favorite golfers to put in here. I would only do that in 2 out of 10 lineups, 1 out of 5. So 20% of my lineups. When it comes to 2 of these golfers, I'd probably put in 60% of my lineups, and then 1 I'd put in 20%, just having 1 of them. So that's difficult to do. The optimizer doesn't do percentages when it comes to those buckets. You would have to adjust this. So I have 0 to 2. You could up this to 0 to 3 every once in a while if you wanted to. Or if you just want to get it out of your way and just build, if you're building 100 lineups, 20 of them, you just like, I'm just going to build 20 lineups that have those 3, like at least 3 of those guys in it. There you go. Then you have it. But I don't know if that's the smart way to do it with an Excel optimizer. Probably not the best to do this. I think you would actually have to keep track of how many times you have at least 2 or at least 1, which I don't know. Maybe that can be another tool I can build sometime in the future, where it shows you how many lineups have 1 last year 1, how many have 2 last year 1, how many have 3 last year 1, and do that for each of the buckets. I could probably build that, but it ain't going to be this week. So just to go over this, yeah, there are golfers that I like. Lowry, I don't mind Nikolai. I like Smalley. I don't mind Max McGravy. Doug Gim, I mean, hey, Kenny Kim is on a heater for his cash game lineups, and Doug Gim's in it, so why not? I love Andrew Putnam. I will be playing as much Putnam as I can, and I really don't mind some of these other guys down here. Just not going to really reach for it, to be honest with you. So, it's actually a decent bucket. I don't mind grabbing at least 1 guy from there. It's not a dud bucket like, that one where all the old timers were up there inside the top 10. So yeah, that's all right. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to talk about every single bucket. I'm just kind of, I gave you the idea of how to look at those buckets. I have something selected down here. Okay. Yeah. We could look from here, and that would be fine. We could sort by minimum and just see what the most common buckets finish inside the top 10. Last week, 6s, golfers who did not play last week. This week, by the way, that number is huge. So if I go and we take a look at last week's 6s, I'm going to open this completely up. Come down here to last week's 6s. We normally see 64.64 golfers in that bucket. We have 110 golfers representing this bucket. The projection is 4 to 10 to finish inside the top 10. On the optimizer, it's going to say 3 to 6. Yeah, that's pretty simple. We like some of your high your high names did play last week. Like you can kind of also look right here. How many golfers, when we look at the salaries top to bottom, you had Shane Lowry and Ryan Gerard playing last week. Now, that's fine. The projection's 4 to 10 of golfers who did not play last week. And our top price golfers did play last week. It's okay. You could play those two guys if you want. You could. Because again, the projection of golfers who did not play is 3 to 6. I had, again, 4 to 10 technically, but 3 to 6 is what I would be. That's what I'm going to put in there. That is the whenever the max is 6, the min is always going to be 3. Just throwing that out there, just so you guys know. But if you wanted to change it to 4, you could. Now, notable golfers who do not, or who did not play last week. The Højgaard twins, Keith Mitchell, Michael Thorbjornsen, Rasmus Nygaard Peterson, Brooks Koepka, Seabez, Thompson, Olesen, Will Zalatoris, who I actually do not mind playing. I really don't. Alex Smalley, one of my favorite, like I will be playing Alex Smalley. Now, Max McGreevy, I like to nickname him McGravy sometimes, so if you hear me say that, it is what it is. He missed the cut last week. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. That's fine. I don't mind going back to him. Hao Tong Lee, Mac Meisner, and Chris Kirk did not play last week, but Max Homa did. He finished 37th. Here's the thing. If you have been to this channel many times, you know these color coordinations mean something. These golfers would be in the same bucket, and that would be your last week 2 bucket. If I go back to the projection for last week 2s, we look at it. It's 0 to 2. You can see I'm opening it up to 0 to 3. You're going to see that on the optimizer, 0 to 3. So if you liked Shane Lowry, Ryan Gerard, and Max Homa, you could play those guys together. That's fine. It works. I wouldn't do it all the time. I'd only do it in a few lineups, but you could do that. Or even if you liked Aaron Rye and you wanted to put Aaron Rye with Shane Lowry and Ryan Gerard, you certainly could. Sami Välimäki was in that bucket. I really like him this week. Couldn't care less for Tom Kim. Anyways, I don't have to go through all of those golfers. I just wanted to show you all the golfers who did not play versus those that did play last week. Because again, the projection for last week is 3 to 6, or for golfers who didn't play last week, 3 to 6. So, easy lineups to build following those rules. All right, I'm going to leave you with this. If you go to the optimizer, or not the optimizer, Jesus. If you go to the cheat sheet and you go to the Google Sheet portion of this, you could go down to the summary, or the bucket system, I should say, put a filter on there, and then go max projection greater than or equal to 2. And basically from here, you're going to see most of the anchor buckets. Some of these aren't really anchor buckets. Like the course history 4, that's not really an anchor bucket, but you could count it as an anchor bucket. And then from here, just look at all of the stats. Take the numbers that you have here, go to the dream sheet, and then apply those filters under whatever buckets you want to look at. So for instance, if I wanted to look at last year 5s, so golfers who missed the cut last week or last year, that's what a last year 5 is, 80 plus most of the time. And I go in here, I would go into this last year column, clear everything, and then just put a 5. And now I'm looking at all the golfers who missed the cut here last year. And it shows that we want 1 to 3, somewhere between 1 to 3. That's how you would filter out these buckets and find those golfers. Now, the other way to do it is you could go to the cheat sheet, the actual cheat sheet right here. And in the little bucket icon, you could actually drill into whatever bucket you wanted to look at. So just take into account the number that you were looking at or that you wanted to look at. Remember, we wanted to look at last year 5s. We just, boom, tap into last year 5. We hit the little X, and we get these same golfers that you saw on the spreadsheet. So you could actually look at this. And by the way, there are different things you can look at. All these buttons here will show you different informations, different pieces of information. So if you wanted to look at what were their strokes gain stats last week, you could look at that if they golfed last week. How about the last 7 weeks? Who are the best golfers? Who are the best performing golfers in this bucket? You could look at strokes gain total, top to bottom, and you would get a sense of the best golfers. David Lipsky, someone mentioned it in the chat not too long ago. That's one of the guys. One of the guys that has really good strokes gain, strokes gain total that is in this bucket. So too, Seamus Power, Carson Young, who was just added to the field, Kevin Roy, Mac Meisner, or Masner, as Byron likes to call him. Or we could look at kind of what I like to look at for strokes gain stats, the last year. So we can kind of get a good sense of just who's good in general, not who's hot right now. And you'll see kind of different names up there, Thorbjorn Olesen, Matt Wallace, all that good stuff. If you want to resort, just go under golfer, sort it this way, and it'll go back by salary. It'll be the default sort. So there are multiple ways that you can look at it. You can also see how many total golfers are in this bucket this week. That's a great thing. The strength of field, like of the golfers in this bucket, how many points are they putting towards the strength of field? And again, if you want to clear, I need to remove that. But just deselect that, or there is an eraser button down here that you can select that will clear all filters. And you can see how many total golfers there are versus strength of field. So you saw from that one bucket, 27 strength of field, or 23, I forget, 23, 27 strength of field points that went towards that bucket. That means the majority of strength of field points are in other buckets. So that could tell you it's not a bucket that you should feel super confident grabbing golfers from, or maybe it is. Just really up to you. So, I could spend hours going through the bucket system. I don't want to. I just want to get through and show you some golfers that might be interesting, especially the anchor buckets. And again, like I said, use the filters on the cheat sheet, Google Sheet, to basically just go under max projection, go greater than or equal to 2, and you will find all the anchor buckets this way. I don't really tend to look at salaries or strokes gain stats, but you certainly can. All of these course history buckets, I don't know, man. You could probably largely ignore them. I mean, this one to me is a 0 to 3. This one is a 0 to 3. I probably put this one as a 0 to 3 as well. Course history 6s. If you also just don't care about looking at these on your own, I have all of those bucket conditionals in the optimizer. So I will be building lineups here shortly. You have to be a red tier member on this YouTube channel or above in order for me to build lineups for you. Or if you want them requested to, go to the website. That's free. Go to the optimizer and then type in your email address and I will send it to you. So again, all of those projections are right in here. So you don't even have to touch them. Okay. I think that's going to be it for the bucket system. I don't know if I really have anything else to talk about. I showed you the ways that you can look at all of this yourself. And then you can go from there. So let's do the second roll call. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the Marquee Tee Times and then we'll do roll call. That will be simple. Simple, simple, simple. All right. Well, let's do this. Actually, let me check the chat first. Awesome addition for the majors. I think I know what you're talking about, but I forgot. Logan says I'm a Willie Z guy. AJ goes, I love Lipsky and Ryder, Hadwin, and Putnam for low guys. Suber's playing this week. That's right. Super Suber. Did they just add Suber? Yeah, he was added late. Okay. We're going to the Marquee Tee Times right now. So you can follow along with me when it comes to the Marquee Tee Times by going to the cheat sheet. And this is a page at SweetSpotDFS.com. There's a link for the website down below. Go to cheat sheet, scroll down till you see this cheat sheet. Click here. That opens up a Google Sheet. And then you can follow along with me here. You can apply the same filters that I'm going to apply on my sheet. It's the exact same thing. First of all, I'm going to clear out any filter that I've already put on there. And I'm going to sort by this group rank right here. A to Z. And I need to zoom out so you guys can see all of the golfers. There we go. Group 1. And by the way, as I go through these groups, I want each and every one of you that want lineups built to remember 2 to 4 golfers, because every time I go over Marquee Tee Times, every time we review them, we always find out that there are 2 to 4 golfers from the Marquee Tee Times that finish inside either the optimal lineup, the Sweet Spot optimal, or the GPP winning lineup. And the other caveat or the other rule that comes with it is you don't want golfers paired up together. So you don't want golfers from the same group. Very rarely do golfers from the same group finish in any of those lineups that I just mentioned. Again, the optimal, the GPP, or the Sweet Spot optimal. Each 3 of those lineups will take down a GPP. So as I highlight all of these, let's do it this way. Group 1 is Shane Lowry, Aaron Rai, Billy Horschel. I want to believe in Billy Horschel. I just don't. Aaron Rai played pretty terribly last week. Now, some people are like, oh, that's fine. He's usually a really good ball striker and a bad putter. But last week, he was a bad ball striker and a good putter. That good putter does not mean anything to me. You have to understand strokes gained stats to understand that's not a big deal. Being a good putter last week when he was bad ball striking makes sense on so many levels. You should not be impressed by that. I'm not sure if he regresses back to the mean, which means he gets better with his irons. And if he gets better, that does not mean he's going to get better with his putter. That doesn't mean he became a better putter. That's not how it works. You have to understand strokes gained stats. That's just not how it works. He was a good putter because he was so bad on approach that it left him longer putts that he was just naturally going to gain when it comes to putting. He might have dropped a couple long bombs. That could definitely have happened as well, but that doesn't make him a good putter. So don't get tricked by that. Don't get tricked by that. You either think his iron game is going to come back to normal and he's going to have better opportunities for birdie, or you don't. And if you don't play him. If you do, you're still subjected to him not being that good of a putter. But he has gotten a victory on Bermuda. That was the Wyndham Championship, so keep that in mind. This could be a golf course better suited for him. That was Group 1. Group 2 is Ryan Gerard, Max Homa, and Michael Brennan. This kind of breaks my heart a little bit because I like Michael Brennan as a cheap golfer to put in my lineups. But he's paired up with Ryan Gerard, who I do like quite a bit. He's number 1 in the model this week. He's over Shane Lowry. So it's challenging. It's difficult. I'll be playing all 3 of them, but I will be playing probably more Brennan than I will be Gerard, just because it's going to be easier to put him in lineups. And I shouldn't even say that. It's going to be easy to put everybody in lineups, but at 7,200, that obviously much simpler than 9,700. Group 3, Rasmus Højgaard, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Tom Kim. I'm not really trying to reach for Tom Kim. I much rather play Rasmus or Michael Thorbjornsen. I have a good feeling that Rasmus is going to play well this week. Could actually be his maiden victory on the PGA Tour. So I will probably be loading up on some Rasmus. I actually want to put one of my favorite combos is Shane Lowry with Rasmus Højgaard. So do with that as you will. Do with that as you will. Nico Echeverria. Kevin Yu and Stephen Fisk are in group 4. I don't mind any of these golfers. They're pretty boomer bust, honestly. And that is absolutely fine with GPP lineups. Group 5 is Garrick Higgo, Carl Phillips, and Davis Riley. I forget where Carl Phillips' victory was. Was that? It was not. Was that Puerto Rico? I think it was, wasn't it? I'm going to take a look. Carl Phillips. Let's go by price tag. What was his price? $6,800. Okay. 68. All I got to do is find his name and drill down on the golfer. There he is. And it will show. Suppose I need to clear out all of my filters. There we go. Where'd you win, bud? Puerto Rico. He won at the Puerto Rico Open. That's exactly what this golf course is. I mean, that's exactly what the field is this week. It's not the golf course. It's definitely the field this week. So, or geez, yeah, the field. So yeah, Carl Phillips, I don't mind. And I don't know if you saw what Pat Mayo talked about with Garrick Higgo, but he did play really bad last week. And if you were to make a chart, or I'm trying to think of the actual type of chart. Well, if you were to make a flow chart and it was to say, is it a short golf course? If yes, the next question would be, is the field weak? If yes, play Garrick Higgo. That's kind of what the flow chart was. So I don't mind playing Garrick Higgo. I actually don't mind playing any 3 of these golfers, to be honest with you. They're all like glue pieces. So do with that as you will. Next group is Keith Mitchell, Chris Kirk, and Joe Highsmith. These are past Honda/Cognizant Classic champions. I like Chris Kirk, probably the most out of that group. And then Keith Mitchell. Keith Mitchell is rated higher in my model, but I don't trust Keith Mitchell. I don't really care for Keith Mitchell either. Group 7 is Alex Smalley, Eric Cole, and Mark Hubbard. All 3 of those golfers I will be playing, but I'll be playing Alex Smalley more so than any of the other guys. The group after that, Group 8, Mac Meisner, Matt Wallace, and Lee Hodges. I don't mind any one of them. I probably like Mac Meisner the most, but Lee Hodges is 28th in the model and he's $7,100. Compare that to Mac Meisner, that's 24th in my model and $8,000. So I would say Lee Hodges is probably your better value. And then the last group is the most interesting group, in my opinion. Brooks Koepka, Danny Berger, and Will Zalatoris. Koepka, who just came over to the PGA Tour from Live Tour, a bit rusty, didn't really play that well. He's had a couple weeks off because he was not invited to any of the signature events. So I don't know if that you would imagine that's going to help him out. Danny Berger is on like group or on the 4th tournament in a row. I have a rule with Danny Berger: don't play him if he's in back-to-back weeks, and he is in. I mean, this is his 4th event in a row. Ever since Daniel Berger got his injury, his wrist injury, and ever since he came back, he can never put back-to-back rounds of golf, like good back-to-back rounds of golf together. The one saving grace about Daniel Berger this week is that he's going from all of those West Coast events that he's not really good at, like POA, he's not really good on POA and that stuff, to a Bermuda event in Florida, which, 1, he's a Florida guy. 2, he's really good on Bermuda. Is that going to be enough? I have my doubts because I don't want to play him when he has that many events in a row that he's been playing. I'm just not going to. he is 7th in my model, so there's something with that maybe that's the right time to play him, but I'm very cautious. I don't really want to. And Zalatoris has been battling injuries since forever ago, it almost feels like. And this is his first event in a really long time. He did play earlier this year. Let's see, what did he end up doing? So it's 8,400. He played twice. He played the American Express, finished 18th, and then he missed the cut at the Farmers Insurance Open. So, hey, that's not terrible. I have zero course history of him being here, so that might be cause for concern, but maybe not that bad. So, those are the Marquee Tee Times. I'll put that up on the screen. For people who have badges next to their names, I will be building lineups for you guys. If you want a badge next to your name, all you got to do is pay $199 a month to get the red tier, and that will give you a badge that way. If you want to watch my Wednesday members only streams, you have to be a white tier member and above. So roll call this week. You know what? Never mind. I'm not going to mix the two. Here's roll call number. I will post it in the chat. Roll call number 2 from the Marquee Tee Times. Who's your favorite golfer? So just put that in the chat, and then afterwards we will be building lineups. Do not put your lineup builds in right now. Do not. I repeat, do not. I do not want those to get mixed up. So roll call number 2 from the Marquee Tee Times. Who's your favorite golfer this week? AJ Love says Ryan Gerard. That's awesome. And by the way, I'm just going to throw some music on here. If it's too loud, let me know. I will turn it down. I have been adjusting the soundboard or the sound mixer on my side, because whenever I get Byron on these streams, he sounds very quiet and I have to boost him up. So I have boosted my sound mixer. If it's too loud, let me know. Lombardi League goes Sam Ryder. Okay. AJ, I see your email. Reminder. Oh, that was too vague of a reminder. If I read that like 2 weeks from now, I will not remember that whatsoever. That's funny though. Okay, just the 2? That's it? Not too many people super interested in this week, huh? I actually don't even know how many people are watching. Eight concurrent viewers. Okay. All right. I don't have that many to talk about or to build, it looks like. Ryan Gerard, Sam Ryder, and Lee Hodges. Solid names, man. Solid names. All right. Well, let's go ahead to building lineups. Give me 2 to 4 golfers you want lineups built around. Oh, John goes, is Ryan G a fade or draw golfer? Ryan Gerard is a... Oh boy. For whatever reason, the first thought I have is he's a fade golfer and Smalley would be a draw golfer. Okay. Let's get to a lineup building. The first one that I have is Gerard Ryder Lipsky. Good God, I need to go find these guys. I think Ryder's 7,300, I believe. All right, here's the thing I'm gonna actually change. We're gonna go 49-2. That used to be the magic number way back in the day. We're gonna go 49-2. We're gonna build 5 lineups for you. Oh, Swipa's coming in like, let's do some lineups. All right, so for the first lineup that I have for you, Mr. AJ, is Lowry, Gerard, Brooks Koepka, Kevin Yu, Sam Ryder, David Lipsky. I'm gonna keep these exposures here. Let's see if we can make some interesting lineups. Next lineup is Ryan Gerard, Rasmus Højgaard, Keith Mitchell, Higo, Ryder, and Lipsky. Okay. And it breaks. Of course it breaks because these are set so low. I'm just gonna go 50%, honestly. I have the availability of 3 8Ks with 3 9Ks. Like I have, yeah. So Gerard, Højgaard, Aaron Rai, Rico Hoey, Sam Ryder, David Lipsky. That's not bad. Shane Lowry, Ryan Gerard, Brooks Koepka yet again. Sam Ryder, S.H. Kim. I like S.H. Kim this week, by the way. David Lipsky. And then we get Ryan Gerard, Rasmus Højgaard, Aaron Rai, Chris Kirk, Sam Ryder, and David Lipsky. Okay. Hey, I left a lot of money on the table, and those 5 lineups were the most optimal lineup for your selected golfers. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. So we get some Brooks Koepka in there, man. If you're feeling Brooks, those were good lineups. Okie doke. The next one is going to be Mr. Dan Grands. Smalley, Brown, and Power. I like Daniel Brown. That's a pretty good choice, man. Smalley? Danny Brown, where you at? Where you at? Where you at? There he is, 72. And you said Shamo. 76, right? Yeah, there we go. This is a great, I like this combo right here. All right, let's see this. Oh no, it breaks. It breaks. I think, here, I'm gonna put 100%. I'm kind of annoyed already that it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so with your lineup, we get Shane Lowry, Ryan Gerard, Alex Smalley, Seamus Power, Danny Brown, and Adrian Sadier. And then it breaks. Then it breaks. I'm going to change strokes gained 3 to 1. Maybe that'll help. No, it does not. It actually hurts. Okay, let's see here. So what is up with Sadier? Is it the last week's 6s? I bet you that's what it is. Oh no, Danny Brown's the last week's 6. Power's the last week's 6. Last year's 6 maybe? Oh, is that what we're having trouble? No. Oh, you hit the rare 3 strokes gain 2 golfers. I'm going to bump this up to 4. Maybe that'll help. It doesn't. It just, SOL, man. SOL. Blades brown. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll try again. Hey, we got a lineup. Woohoo! 49,200. So we're leaving $800 on the table. Shane Lowry, Brooks Koepka, Alex Smalley, Valimaki, Power, and Brown. I'm going to need to actually bring back some of my other exposures that I had. Because in order to make this work, I need some of these guys kicked out. Otherwise, you're just going to get the same lineups over and over and over again. Okay. Oh, I should have saved that. Okay, there we go. Next lineup is Thorbjornsen, Koepka, Bezuidenhout, Smalley, Power, and Blades Brown. Lineup after that is Lowry, Koepka, Smalley, Valimaki, Power. We already did that one, right? Yeah, we already did that one. Let's kick. I'm gonna kick out Koepka. Koepka's shown up a lot, guys. Holy crap! Why? He's over the threshold. He should not be selected. Is this gonna break? Oh, he's needed. He is needed. Why? I guess I'll move everything back to 100%. Try again. What is going on? Last year one. I mean, what do these guys have in common? They're strokes gained 2 golfers, different course history buckets, different recent form buckets, different last year buckets, the same last week bucket, which is good. Last year's 6s I have set to 2. Like, we need to at least have 2. Okay, let's look at that bucket. I want to look at that bucket. This might actually just be a bucket we don't care to pick golfers from. Sometimes we got to use our head. So the top price guys: Højgaard, Peterson. Yeah, there's Koepka, Rye, Zalatoris. So, hold on. Here's what I'll do. We bump this down to 47,000. I'm going to build you some gross lineups. You don't have to be sorry. Okay. If you want to get a little gross, we can build lineups like this. Lowry, Niergaard, Peterson, Smalley, Power, Whaling, Blades Brown. That's a pretty good lineup though, right? Considering, I actually like that lineup. It seems like a pretty solid lineup. Okay. Ooh, Lowry, Smalley, Valimaki, Seamus Power, Michael Brennan, Blades Brown. It's a pretty solid lineup too. Ryan Gerard, Alex Smalley, Rico Hoey, Seamus Power, Steven Yeager. Do we like Steven Yeager? Probably not, right? Well, if you like it, you can say it, you can keep it, but I'm gonna boot him out. Oh gosh. Gerard, Neargard, Peterson, Smalley, Power, Horschel, and Blades Brown. So those guys are being selected because it's automatically choosing a last year 6. And there aren't really that many good golfers in that last year 6 bucket. So this is where we just use, well, there's so many good golfers in this bucket. Like, my favorites are John Kiefer and John Perry. And Rasmus Højgaard. So I would automatically have enough golfers in my lineups for you know, whatever, but let me change this to a 1 for you in case you can find a better lineup. And this one only uses 1. So you get Gerard, Mitchell, Smalley, Seamus Power, Billy Horschel, Blades Brown. If you like it, you like it. Jaeger's a top talent in the field. Is he though? Anyways, there. We made those lineups work by putting a lot of money on the table. But there you go. That is one way to do it. And that's probably what we got to do. It's what we got to do. Okay. So we got down to Dan, Lombardi, Lee. Oh, John goes, there's a Blades Brown too. I totally missed that. Sorry, man. AJ says Lipsky's going to kill me. AJ goes, my favorite player is probably Perry. There we go. Brooks is a top talent in the field if you think about it. Yep, I agree. Okay. So now for Lombardi Lee, we go Sam Ryder, Johnny Kiefer, Adam Hadwin. You've been watching too much Mayo Media Network, haven't you? Adam Hadwin is Penny's favorite golfer. Kiefer is just everybody's favorite golfer. Johnny Kiefer, Ryder, and Adam Hadwin. All right, we're leaving a lot of money on the table. Let's see what we get. Lowry, Gerard, 2 top 9K golfers, down to Kiefer, Higo, Ryder, and Hadwin. I actually kind of like that lineup like a lot. Lowry, Gerard, Kiefer, Ryder, Matti Schmid, which I also like, Adam Hadwin. 48-1. So you're leaving $1,900 on the table. Oh my God, guys. These, I'm not even telling the optimizer to leave a lot of money on the table. I'm allowing it to leave a lot of money on the table. There's just nobody else that it wants to select. Like, there's just, when it comes to the model, just nobody else is popping up. I think it has a lot to do with some of these Euro golfers. I don't even know how to, I don't know how to make those better. Like, what would make sense? I don't know if anything really does make sense to do. This lineup is Lowry, Gerard, Kiefer, Ryder, Grillo, and Adam Hadwin. That's not terrible. Same lineup. Okay, so we've hit, we're gonna have to kick out Grillo. Try again. Gerard, Højgaard, Kiefer, Ryder, Whaley, Hadwin. Okay. Let's see. Can I actually make a lineup that uses more salary? I can. So we can build a $50,000 lineup. Gerard, Højgaard, Koepka, Kiefer, Ryder, Hadwin. Okay. That's a really good one to show you. You can do all 9s if you need to. Or a lineup that uses more salary. Okay. Let's see. That was Lombardi. Lipsky's gonna kill me. Blades Brown. Player of the week is Perry. Koepka. Sorry, I'm breaking the machine. Jaeger's top talent. Perry's my top guy. Dan goes, I got Smalley, Brown, Højgaard, Power, Ryder, Thorbjornsen. Is that just the lineup you built, like you just hand built? So you like, let me throw it in and see what it does. Okay, I think I can find all those guys. You are welcome, Lombardi Lee. I'm here, Eric. Thanks. I watch a lot of golf content, to be honest with you. That was the one you just threw together yesterday? Okay. Gotta find it again. Okay, Smalley, Brown. All right, Smalley. We already did Brown. Smalley, Brown, Højgaard. Which one? Does it matter? Torbjornsson. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's our fifth guy? Ryder. Let's see if it spits out a Højgaard for you. It spits out a Shane Lowry for you. So you're leaving a lot of money on the table, since obviously this is the most expensive golfer. So it doesn't really matter which Højgaard you put in there. Either Højgaard is fine. See if I click no, will it just... Okay, so Ryan Gerard fits in there. And then it goes to Keith Mitchell. That might be because of Marquee Tee Times. Yeah, it's because of Marquee Tee Times. So it's just going to continue going down the list of Marquee Tee Times. Well, Rasmus is in a Marquee Tee Time. There you go. Oh, it's Neergaard Peterson. Oh, boy. Oh, Torbjornsson is Group 3 and Rasmus is Group 3. So Nikolai would be the only guy that could fit. So what would we get here? You don't get the last year's 6, the amount of last year's 6s that you need, but everything else follows in the maxes, so that's fine. All golfers who did not play last week, you hit all the numbers there. You hit all the numbers. Oh, no recent form 4s, which sure, whatever, that's fine. Everything else sits in the projections. You know what? That's another thing that I need to somehow create. Even if the minimums, well, yeah, if, oh boy. God, that makes this so much more challenging to like do. Maybe the goal is not to have minimums. Maybe the goal is just to only sort out the maximums. That's probably, I might be more successful if I do it that way. You're 1 over stroke gain 2, so I would just say that's not the way to go. That's because you probably selected golfers that have good stroke gain stats. Right here, everything fits. Okay, everything's good. 3 a.m., 3 p.m. with Nikolai. So only one bucket that I would say did not work out. Didn't fix. Can we try Z lineup with both twins? Oh boy. Oh boy. Actually, that's not a terrible lineup. Haotong, Rico, and Davis Riley. That's pretty good, man. Andrew Putnam. That's a sexy lineup. Holy crap. Billy Horschel with Steven Fisk. Yep, that one's good for me.
Never seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight. I've never seen you shine.
What the heck, man? Okay, we got a bad one. I'm not doing it, Adam Shank. No, nor am I doing the Daywalker. Although this is the time of the year where the Daywalker gets to go out and play a little bit better. We're getting closer to the Players Championship. Okay. You know what? If you need a CBES lineup, sure, why not? Okay, that's cool. Well, ladies and germs, I think that's it. I'm cool with keeping this podcast a little bit shorter. We had less people in here this week. Plus, I kind of have it hard out at 11 anyways. I don't mind getting a little extra time to myself. So, yeah, this was nice. Building some of these lineups towards the end here kind of made me feel a little bit better, because otherwise we were having to leave a lot of money on the table, which kind of stinks in its own right. Yeah, just to show you guys something, by the way, the cheat sheet, if you didn't notice, has a new button, couple new buttons up here. This week and next week. So this Friday, you will be able to do research for next week. Because when I get the alpha list from the PGA Tour, I will put it into all of my little spreadsheets and spit out an import file that I put into my database. And all you got to do is click this next week button and the new field will show up. This obviously has Cognizant in here because when I was testing it, it was with Friday's alpha list of the Cognizant. That's why you can see 117 golfers versus if I go to this week, it's 123 golfers. And you can see the strength of field is slightly different. Like I told you, it was like 210 with Ben Griffin in there. It was a Ben Griffin and Jacob Bridgman. So yeah, and you can see that. See week 1 playing, all that good stuff. So this will be available Friday. You'll be able to do research moving, going ahead in time. You can pair that with the bucket system because the bucket system doesn't matter what year you're looking at. So if you wanted to type in, what are we looking at? Next week is what? Oh my gosh, I had a brain fart there. Arnold Palmer Invitational. You can look at all your bucket numbers and that should help. Then you just go back to your cheat sheet. Like last year ones look good. I'm not sure if these are going to work. And if they don't work, my apologies, but they should. If I go ahead and put in last year ones. Oh yeah. There we go. I mean, this is obviously showing this week or this year. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay. Yep. I'm going to have to update that. Okay. So this needs to be updated. That's a fix that I need to do. I didn't even think about testing this out. This must just look at these numbers here, which is fine. So I will update that and update everything to go along with it. And you'll be able to use the buckets that way. Again, I mean, I have until Friday to fix this. So that will be available to you. Again, you can use all of these buttons just like you did with the other ones. You can see I'm kind of currently working through color coding it. Byron, what took you so long? I'm taking off. I got a hard out at 11 anyways. But yeah, what took you so long? If you want me to build a lineup for you, I could do that really quickly. Yeah, I got no issues with it. You let me know. We built some juicy lineups towards the end, though. That was nice. Pool League on Tuesdays. I see. Yeah, my bad. Or not so much my bad, but too bad. Really, too bad. It's all good. I'll be in the member chat tomorrow. Sweet. Okay. Cool. Well, everyone, thank you all for being here. Sorry, Byron, that you only got like the last minute of it. But yeah, I'm going to use my time wisely. And it looks like I've got some updating to do on this anyways. So with that being said, I will see you tomorrow for members only, for YouTube members only, white tier and above. Otherwise, good luck this week. Hopefully you win some money. Of course, it doesn't work when I need it to work. Thank you.